The rope burned her wrists before the fear did. Dust filled her mouth as she stumbled, dragged across the hard earth by a horse that did not slow for her cries. The world had narrowed to pain, to the pounding of hooves, to the terrible certainty that whatever waited at the end of this trail would be worse than the journey itself. She had heard the stories since she was a child, ranchers who took what they wanted, who broke spirits as easily as bones. As the ranch came into view, fences rising like a cage against the wide sky, the Apache woman clenched her jaw and promised herself one thing: she would not beg. Her name was Nayland, and she had learned long ago how to endure. The day before, her small band had scattered under rifle fire, panic tearing through them like a sudden storm. She had run until her lungs screamed, then hidden in a dry arroyo, thinking she was safe. She had been wrong. The rancher found her there, tall and broad, his face shadowed beneath a hat pulled low. He hadn't spoken when he looped the rope, hadn't struck her, hadn't even cursed. That silence frightened her more than any threat. Now he swung down from the saddle and cut the rope from his horse, leaving it still knotted around her wrists. The ranch yard was quiet, just the creak of a windmill and the low sound of cattle shifting in the distance. The man looked at her for a long moment, as if weighing something unseen, then said simply, "You're hurt." It was not a question. She spat blood and glared at him. "Do it," she said in her language, then repeated in broken English. "What you brought me here for?" The rancher frowned, as though her words had struck him somewhere tender. He took off his hat, revealing hair threaded with gray, and sighed. "I brought you here because the soldiers would have killed you," he said quietly. "And because you fainted." She did not believe him. Why would she? He untied her wrists, slowly, giving her time to pull away if she wanted. She expected a blow when she flinched. None came. He stepped back instead, hands open. "I'm Elias Boone," he said. "You can stay or you can go when you're strong enough. But you'll rest first." Suspicion kept her rigid, but exhaustion won. He led her into a small house that smelled of soap and old wood. He gave her water. He cleaned the scrapes on her hands with careful fingers, apologizing when she hissed. When she finally slept, it was with a knife hidden beneath the blanket, her breath shallow and her dreams full of running. The days that followed did not match the stories she had heard. Elias gave her food and left her alone. He did not lock the door. He worked from dawn to dusk, mending fences, hauling water, tending cattle. When he spoke, it was to ask if she needed more blankets, or if the soup was too hot. He never asked her name. That, more than anything, unsettled her. On the fourth day, she tried to leave. Her legs trembled as she crossed the yard, but pride carried her forward. She had gone only a few steps when dizziness washed over her. She fell to her knees. Elias was there in an instant, not touching her until she nodded. He helped her back inside, anger flickering across his face, not at her, but at himself. "I should have known you weren't ready," he muttered. "Why?" she demanded, the question tearing free before she could stop it. "Why help me?" He sat across from her, elbows on his knees. For a long time, he said nothing. Then he spoke of a woman who had died years before, caught between worlds not her own. He spoke of a promise he had made at a grave beneath a cottonwood tree, to do better, to be better, even when the land and the times seemed to reward cruelty. "I can't undo what's been done to your people," he said. "But I can choose what kind of man I am today." The words sank into her slowly, like rain into dry soil. She did not trust him yet. But she stayed. As her strength returned, she began to help around the ranch, more out of restlessness than gratitude. She mended a torn shirt with neat stitches. She learned the rhythm of the place, the way dawn brought color back to the world and dusk softened it. Elias never ordered her. When she worked, he thanked her. When she did not, he did not comment. The challenges came quietly at first. Neighbors rode by and stared, their eyes sharp with questions. One man laughed and asked if Elias had finally gone native. Elias's jaw tightened, but he answered evenly, "She's under my roof." That was all. Later, soldiers arrived, searching for survivors from the skirmish. Nayland hid in the cellar, heart hammering, the old fear returning full force. Elias stood in the yard and lied for her, his voice steady as stone. When they rode away, she sank to the dirt and wept, grief for her lost family pouring out of her like a breaking dam. Elias did not speak. He sat nearby, close enough that she could feel his presence, far enough that she could breathe. Winter came early. A blizzard trapped them together for days, the world outside erased. Supplies ran low. They shared stories to pass the time, hers of mountains and songs in a river that sang at night, his of a boyhood spent learning to survive a land that did not care if you lived or died. Somewhere between the storm and the silence that followed, something in Nayland softened. She began to see the loneliness in Elias, the way he carried regret like a second shadow. When the snow melted, she asked him to teach her to ride. He did, patient and encouraging, laughing when she nearly fell. In turn, she taught him words from her language, correcting his clumsy tongue. They worked side by side, building a fragile trust from shared effort and quiet respect. The final test came with fire. A lightning strike ignited the dry grass, flames racing toward the ranch with terrifying speed. They fought it together, hauling water, beating back sparks, choking on smoke. When the wind shifted and the fire turned, Elias stumbled, his leg caught beneath a fallen beam. Nayland did not hesitate. She dragged him free, ignoring the heat, the pain, the fear. They survived, the ranch scarred but standing. Afterward, as ash drifted like dark snow, Elias looked at her with something like wonder. "You saved my life," he said. She shook her head. "You saved mine first." In the months that followed, Nayland chose to stay, not because she was trapped, but because she was free to choose. She planted a small garden beside the house. She sang again. Elias listened, the sound filling the spaces he had thought would remain empty forever. The past did not vanish. The world beyond the ranch remained harsh and unjust. But within that small circle of land, two wounded people had learned that kindness could be a form of courage, that understanding could bridge even the deepest divides. Nayland had been dragged to the ranch in chains of fear, believing the worst of the man who lived there. She left those chains behind, not because the world changed overnight, but because one man chose compassion over cruelty, and one woman chose to see him for who he truly was. And in that choice, they found something stronger than survival. They found hope.